Do you remember the frantic mother from Home Alone?
Kevin!
Screaming Kevin at the top of her lungs while racing through a crowded airport? Or perhaps you recall the wonderfully eccentric woman
The season of Perpetual?
with the impossible-to-place accent and a closet full of wigs in Schitt's Creek. That was Catherine O'Hara, a woman who didn't just act. She possessed a rare, shape-shifting brilliance that made every character she touched feel like someone you'd known your whole life, or someone you desperately wanted to meet. When she passed away on January 30th, 2026,
Breathing difficulty.
A cause of death isn't no.
the world lost more than just a legendary performer. It lost a master of the human condition who spent over 50 years teaching us how to find the warmth in the absurd. This is the story of a woman who turned awkward silences into symphonies, panic into poetry, and comedy into something deeply, profoundly human. At this point in her career, Catherine O'Hara could have comfortably remained a cult favorite,
The season of Perpetual?
the kind of actor other actors admired. But then something unexpected happened. In her 60s, she reintroduced herself to the world. Moira Rose wasn't just a comeback. She was a revelation. A character so stylized she bordered on absurdity, and yet so vulnerable that audiences across generations fell in love with her. How did O'Hara take what could have been a one-note parody and turn it into one of the most iconic television performances of the 21st century? The answer says everything about who she was, not just as a performer, but as a person. Her story began in a bustling household in Toronto as the sixth of 7 children, where humor was likely a survival skill. She started out waitressing at the Second City Comedy Club, eventually stepping into the spotlight as an understudy for Gilda Radner. It was during the iconic SCTV years that Catherine truly found her rhythm, winning an Emmy for her writing and creating unforgettable characters like the high-energy Lola Heatherton. There was always a fearlessness to her work. She was never afraid to look ridiculous or push a joke to its absolute limit. This improvisational magic became her signature, especially in her collaborations with director Christopher Guest, where she brought a soulful reality to the hilariously niche worlds of competitive dog shows and small-town theater. While she became the world's definitive movie mom as Kate McCallister in Home Alone and its sequel Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, Catherine O'Hara did something remarkable in those films that often goes unnoticed. In the middle of slapstick chaos, cartoon burglars and pratfalls, she grounded the story. Her frantic airport sprint, her tearful monologue in the airplane seat, her relentless cross-country journey to get back to Kevin. She gave emotional stakes to what could have been pure farce. The films endure not just because of their gags, but because Kate's panic feels real. She wasn't playing a mom. She was playing guilt, fear, and unconditional love at full volume. At the same time, she was exploring an entirely different tonal universe. In Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton, O'Hara transformed into Delia Deetz, an avant-garde sculptor with theatrical flair and operatic intensity. Delia wasn't just comic relief, she was heightened absurdity wrapped in artistic ego. O'Hara leaned fully into Burton's gothic surrealism, making Delia both ridiculous and strangely sincere. When she reprised the role in Beetlejuice, decades later, the timing was still razor-sharp. Her physical comedy, her dramatic pauses, even the way she held her hands while delivering a line, it was proof that her instincts hadn't dulled with time. If anything, they'd refined. But O'Hara's most sophisticated film work often came through her collaborations with Christopher Guest. In mockumentaries like Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, and For Your Consideration, she operated without a traditional script, improvising entire emotional arcs in real time. As Cookie Fleck in Best in Show, she turned a seemingly shallow trophy wife into someone unexpectedly vulnerable. In A Mighty Wind, her performance as folk singer Mickey Crab balanced nostalgia, regret, and quiet dignity. These films required not just comedic instinct, but emotional precision, the ability to make satire feel lived in rather than performed. Her range extended into voice work as well. In The Nightmare Before Christmas, she voiced Sally, bringing warmth and fragility to the gothic fairy tale. Later, she reunited with Burton for Frankenweenie, proving her voice carried the same elasticity as her physical performances. Even Pixar enlisted her distinctive tone for Elemental, demonstrating that new generations were discovering her artistry through animation. Then came Moira Rose. In Schitt's Creek, O'Hara created something that transcended parody. Moira's theatrical accent, famously unplaceable, wasn't random. It was crafted. O'Hara has said she imagined Moira absorbing speech patterns from old films and society elites, constructing a persona to shield herself from insecurity. What could have been a camp caricature became layered. Beneath the wigs and vocabulary was a woman terrified of irrelevance. That emotional truth is what made audiences connect. Her performance earned her the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series in 2020, but more importantly, it cemented Moira Rose as a cultural icon. Lines like "Bibi" and "Fold in the cheese" entered everyday language. Few actors managed to create characters that survive beyond their shows.
A cause of death.
O'Hara did it effortlessly. Even in her final years, she refused to slow down. In the satirical series The Studio, she leaned into sharp industry commentary, playing with the absurdity of Hollywood itself. Then, in a dramatic turn within The Last of Us, she revealed a different register entirely. Restrained, grounded, emotionally direct. It was a reminder that her talent was never confined to comedy. She simply chose to express it through humor most often. Across genres, holiday blockbuster, gothic fantasy, mockumentary, prestige television, animation, satire, post-apocalyptic drama, Catherine O'Hara did something extraordinarily rare. She made specificity universal. Every character felt like an exaggeration of someone we know, and every exaggeration was rooted in empathy. That was her genius. Off-screen, Catherine was known for a life that was as steady as her characters were chaotic. She shared a long, beautiful marriage with production designer Beau Welch, whom she met on the set of the original Beetlejuice, and together they raised 2 sons. She remained a proud Canadian icon, honored with the Order of Canada, and celebrated for her lifetime of artistic achievement. To look back at her career is to see a woman who loved people in all their messy, dramatic, and funny glory. She leaves behind a legacy of laughter that feels less like a performance and more like a long, warm conversation with an old friend. Catherine O'Hara never relied on spectacle. She was a LL about the details. A pause before a line, a flick of the wrist, an accent that didn't belong anywhere, and yet somehow belonged everywhere. She understood something fundamental about comedy, that it isn't about perfection. It's about humanity, about recognizing the awkwardness, the ego, the desperation, and the love in all of us, and amplifying it just enough so we can laugh at it. Off-screen, her life was grounded. A decades-long marriage, 2 sons, a quiet steadiness behind the chaos she performed so brilliantly. She remained proudly Canadian, honored with the Order of Canada, and respected not just for her talent, but for her humility. To look back at her career now is to realize something profound. Catherine O'Hara didn't just create characters. She created companions, and even though she's gone, those companions remain. Screaming through airports, arranging avant-garde art, mispronouncing words with elegance, and reminding us that there is warmth inside the ridiculous. That is her legacy. And that legacy will keep laughing long after the curtain has fallen.